Aloha Kohala. It is 3 o'clock here at KNKRLP 96.1 FM Kohala. I am here with
Michál Anna.
And we are going to do Intuitive Talk Story with you today. If you want to call in, call 808-884-5657. Yeah, we don't need the old headphones. We'll go unnatural today.
Unnatural. Yes.
So let's talk about what's alive. What's alive right now out there?
What's alive? Purge. Let the waters flow. Everything is moving out and breaking down if we allow it to, through a power of embracing, through love.
Love. Yeah. I sometimes I watch some videos or listen to some people who have different kinds of spirit-related ideas. And I was doing that the other day, and I realized as the person was talking, I'm like, that's a program she's saying. Like, she was going into this whole thing about herself and her life or whatever. And I'm like, that's a program and that's her belief, but that's not my truth. So I bring that up because I think it's very important that those of you who are out there listening to us, or you listen to somebody else and you're like, oh, that must be the truth. You got to check in with you and find out, is that true for me? Is that where I'm at, or is that where I'm going?
And in that too, I find that's where we get into the seek to understand, because we actually just speak different languages. So sometimes I might say a word that doesn't vibe with you, but I'm saying the same thing you understand in a different way. You might have a different way of explaining it or expressing it.
Right, and that can be culturally,
right.
Or we were just talking to people who have certain religious beliefs.
Right.
You start speaking their language. Sometimes it helps you connect, but it's not about the words. It's about the concepts.
It's about the essence of the meaning, and that comes into truth. So one thing I really found, because I grew up based in as a born-again Christian and Christian faith, and then I went and studied all sorts of religions, and because I wanted to read about all different things through my late teens and 20s, I spent a lot of time pouring into the religious texts of many religions.
Me too,
searching
honey.
for the golden thread of truth.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm sure that was right.
Yeah.
So because that's what's innate, that I want to see the truth. And I do believe and see there is a golden thread of truth through all religions, through all belief, through everything. Because the truth is always there. There may often be a distortion, but the truth cannot be taken away, because it's like the love, right? The truth is what? We could think of that as God. We could think of that as all that is. We could think of that as
its purest form.
Its purest form, right? The purest form of the absolute truth is just God, the infinite, however you see that. So the truth, when we resonate, it's that you resonate with the essence of that. That's the truth. That feels resonant, because it's the same resonance for every single one of us. We're just tapping into that truth, that source. And I might get it with this filter, it comes in this language. You get it in a different way, but it's still the same truth. We just express it in different ways, which is why everything's a story and a metaphor and a parable, right? Because they're meant to give us context to learn a greater lesson, right? You're supposed to learn a lesson out of that story. There's stories that get played out so you can learn lessons. Thing is, we tend to get attached to our stories and think we are our stories, instead of realizing, wow, I've had lots of roles. Oh yeah, one time I played a pharaoh. One time I played a beggar. One time I played a whatever. And so if we thought of it more that way, we have all these stories, and we didn't get identify with one of the roles we've played, and instead we just thought of the journey, right? It's just I had all kinds of roles, but in essence, I just am that I am
today. Right. Today, I'm in this body, expressing in this way, having these kind of experiences, and there were probably some others in other lifetimes, in other places, and not to be attached to this vehicle that that I'm writing in right now.
Or the story it's playing out. Like
Yeah.
it's more like you become the observer of watching your own story. Like, this is a cool story. It's fun. I love this whole story. I'm not attached to the story, but this is really cool. I'm enjoying that I'm experiencing this story.
Yeah.
But you know it's a story.
Right. That makes me think of kind of the ego. Sometimes when we like the story a lot, we may get attached to it.
We do.
On a
That's
3D level.
Right.
It's like, I am pretty fabulous. And this is, and then I find if I get too attached to some things, they're going to shift. I mean, they're going to change anyway.
Right.
No matter what. So no matter how attached you might be to whatever's happening now, it's going to change because that's the world we live in. It's always changing. But our essence, at our purest form, we're still there.
Well, and it's this age-old saying, if you can have it as long as you don't need it.
Yeah.
It's the more you set something free, and if it comes back to you, it was meant to be. We have a lot of sayings that tell us these little lessons, which is if you allow total freedom, then you can have it because it has no attachments. There's no strings.
Right.
There's no need. It's not defining you. Like if the relationship defines who you are, well, then that's an attachment. Whereas it just being, and that's kind of like, to me, I think there's the Jedi path, the spiritual path of integrating into your own love and light and yourself, which is hard, is, challenging on its own, right?
Yeah.
But to do it in relationship means to be completely unattached and at the same time, completely unconditionally loving at the same time, which is like, Jedi Turbo.
Independence kind of do
Jedi
your own
Pro or
thing,
something.
but then you're negotiating in these relationships, and what comes up for me is the concept of roles. We play these different roles, mother, daughter, father, sister, brother, lover, wife. All these different titles sometimes come with certain things we think we're supposed to do.
Oh, yeah.
And so
this comes up a lot in session work,
I
especially
bet.
with people who have brothers and sisters and families. And of course, everybody
Everybody
family.
has something.
Everybody has people that
Yeah.
they love and care about.
Yeah.
And obligation is a huge one that comes up. Obligation, guilt, feeling the shoulda, woulda, couldas. That's a typical programs we get laid in from our families, right?
Yes.
You should have done this. You should have done that. And so those things, that can be very debilitating. So pulling away, like going, why am I doing this? People say all the time, of course I'm attached. It's my family. Well, yeah, but you don't have to be attached. You can care unconditionally, have love, honor, joy, want to be helpful, do your best, and still be unattached.
And then let go and go back doing your thing.
Because really what it means in my mind to be unattached, when I say that, I don't mean it flippantly or like don't care. I mean that I've given it to Source already. I've given it to God. And so I can be unattached because I trust and have faith that it's being handled in a greater capacity. So I, as a little me, get to just be unattached and amused, be in the field of amusement, be in the field of wonder, curiosity, like a child. They say, like in scripture, right? Being like a child to get into the gates of heaven.
Right. It's also what comes up for me is I've been through something with my daughter these past couple of years where she's been through a lot of stuff. And at 5,000 miles away, there's not a whole lot of physical activities I can do to support her, right? So I support with energy and with prayer and with love. And there's also, it's been valuable for me to say, I want to empower her. She can handle this. I'm praying for her. I'm sending her love. And then letting it go. Let go. Because it's even true when kids are little, but at any age, we're all in our movies, and we can love each other in those movies, but we can't control what's going on for somebody else in their movie.
Well, I was talking to a client who's a birth mama, and she raised kids. They're older now. And I have not I'm not a birth mama, so I have not had that experience in this lifetime. And So she was saying that she said, "Oh yeah, you have to let him fall down. Like they were learning to ride the bike. Oh, you get like, okay, oh, you're gonna fall down. You have to let him fall and you have to let him try because it shows them that you trust that they could do it.
Yeah.
To go, yeah, go ahead and try it. If I'm hovering, then that means I don't have trust in him that he can do it. It actually nicks away at his confidence. Like he think, oh, well, you need my help because what are you, stupid? Right? It can energetically make that feeling. You don't mean that, but the hovering can do that. So she was like, oh yeah, you really got to let go and just let them fall. That's how they learn. That's how they're going to get it. And that gives them the confidence that you have confidence in them that they can get it. So that's a good lesson to remember with anybody.
With anyone in your life,
right?
yeah, older, younger,
Doesn't matter what age.
doesn't matter. Yeah, that by, you have your love for them and you have your verbal communication with them, and then you entrust the universe and them to do whatever needs to happen.
Exactly.
And if they fall, they'll learn from that. Just like you've fallen and I've fallen, and we have all had things in life that have been, painful, challenging, and it's through those moments that we grow and we learn and we become empowered and strong.
Yeah, and that brings up to falling and the ability to fall. Because I find, a lot of people are like, oh, how do you do it? And I'm like, well, you just pick yourself back up. And they're like, well, gosh, people are defeated very easily. If I didn't get it the first time, well, then I don't have it. Because we've kind of started placating to that and how we teach and how things are happening.
And it's a little bit the culture. It's this instant gratification. Yeah.
It's not like you work for it, which is, like for me, I do West African Day. It's why, there's only so many people who come because they don't want to work that hard.
It's some serious, it's work, but it's fun and it's energizing and all that.
You don't have to work that hard. Yeah. Honestly, you just get to have
But it's
fun
not the
and
same
enjoy.
as sitting in front of the couch and in front of the TV or something. Yeah.
Well, for instance, like go to a gong bath, there's 30 people with blankets and a pillow ready to lay down, so.
It's not that. No.
Right, no.
Yeah.
So it's definitely, we get discouraged. And I think that's a huge part of is perseverance. You must persevere, be committed, never give up. Never give up, keep going. You're never given more than you can handle. That's helped me a lot. If I must be able to handle it, I'm here. So I guess cowgirl up. I got this.
Perseverance is so funny. That word always reminds me of, I used to take my kids to Taekwondo and they had 4 values, and that one just stayed with me. Yeah. Maybe because I hadn't seen it many other places. And I think it's very important for us to think about perseverance and how do we do that? How do we show up in our lives and continue to show up in our lives, even when it's hard?
Right. I was having that talk earlier today. And that, for me, back to kicking and screaming. I mean, I just did this the other day. Because we all, I just surrender myself to God. I don't want to do this. But I surrender my ego, myself, everything, my personal desire. I let it all go. Not my will, but divine will, by the will of God. May that live here, breathe here, speak here. And surrender. So for me, it's listening, checking in, listening, and then doing what I'm told, like what I hear. Like that part, sometimes you don't want to. You're like, really?
Like really listening to that inner voice.
Yeah, really listening,
Yeah.
And
even
like,
though you don't feel like it.
Yeah, you're like, really? I'm really supposed to do that? But I would rather just go. Can I just go? No, this is what you really need to do. Stick it out, do this.
Yeah.
That's perseverance. See, the perseverance comes for me, not from myself, but from faith in something greater than I, that I am drawing upon, so that I can persevere through these challenges and persevere through what's given to me, so that I might know and understand my greater self.
And to know the difference between what you are your intuition is telling you to stick with this and persevere through this, versus your ego telling you, oh, you have to do this or you're supposed to do this, right? Because there's that too. Things. You got to know those voices in your head.
So that goes back to that age-old, don't judge a book by its cover. 2 books can look the exact same sitting on the table, but when you open it and you start reading the information, they can be very different. So it might look the same, But it, like a drum circle, I had this wonderful time. I went to Mount Shasta years ago when I was a young Rasta hippie at a rainbow gathering. I was probably 20-something, 22, 21. And there was mountain. The mountain is Mount Shasta. And there's all these different camps of people up through the mountain. When you first start out, it's kind of low energy. And people are like kind of not eating that much and da-da-da. And then you kind of go and there's people doing things. And now there's a little kitchen. And it's starting to feel a little more integrated. Now you see a drum circle. You walk over there. It's a drum circle. Oh, there's a drum circle. But nobody's playing together. And it's kind of all smashy and nobody knows what they're really doing. It looks like the same thing that I walk up later.
That you wanted to do, but
it's not really it.
Yeah.
It's really not it. It looks like it, but that's not what it is. Keep going. I kept walking up the mountain, and then the camps started getting nicer and nicer, like more nice sandwiches, more beautiful things. Harp are playing now.
Oh, wow.
And you go, oh, wow. And then there's another drum circle. This one, people are organized.
They're synchronized.
They're playing. They're listening to one another. They're dropping in
and
the
you
pocket.
were feeling it.
And you're feeling it.
Yeah.
And then as you walked, you continued walking up. I got to the top camp of that mountain and literally sat there and they're like, aloha. I didn't say aloha. They said like, hi there, kind sister. Like, have some tea. Enjoy, sit, be with us. Kind of energy. And it just felt like, wow. And the metaphor, back to the stories, everything's a metaphor or a story that we're learning. It was like, don't stop where you think, oh, this is it. This is the one. Looks like it, right? Let's just stop here. No, keep going. Keep going in yourself. We get comfortable places.
Like, don't settle.
Don't settle. We get comfortable. We think, well, this is great. I was going to hike to the top, but I mean, this place looks wonderful. If we just camp
They're
here.
doing what I wanted to do.
They're doing what I want. I should stay here. No, keep going.
Yeah,
keep
it's
going.
not it. It's not it yet.
Keep going.
Yeah.
And if you keep going and you listen and you follow your path, you end up at this other miraculous place because you're not getting distracted by what you might see along the way that looks very much like what you want.
Looks can be deceiving.
Looks can be very deceiving.
Yeah. And that's why it's important to know what you feel. What do you feel in your gut about a person, about a situation, about a place?
This brings in another fabulous word, discernment.
Mm-hmm.
Discernment is a very particular word in that it means discerning. To me, that means you're not judging. There's not a judging quality. There's a deep observation quality. And then to be discerning is to go within the observation from a very neutral eye and see like,
Be curious.
Be curious. What is this? And do I need to know anything about it? And is it really the question I ask, is it in my highest good? And then is it in the highest good? If it's in my highest good, it's probably in the highest good. But, it's nice to ask. You can double check.
Yeah.
I like to double check. So, it's you just kind of dropping into that. Now I'm being discerning. It's really not best for me to go to that luncheon today. I'm just discerning that's
not that it's bad.
Not that
or
the luncheon's
anyone's
bad.
wrong.
Nope. It's just that it's not best for me to go.
Right.
I'm discerning that. I'm tuning in to my guidance. And just for some reason, maybe I need to stay home and catch this other call that's going to come in. Maybe another thing's going to come up and I'm going to need to put my attention there. We don't know why. I'm just tuning in. And then you usually do find that something like that does happen. And you're like, oh, gosh, good thing I listened. Or else I wouldn't have been able to do this.
Right.
So when we listen, we're right where we need to be when we need to be there.
And that also requires the letting go of what other people are going to say if I don't do this other thing that I was planning on doing. Like, you have to find that balance between, well, I said I was going to be there at 4:00, but now I'm feeling like I really need to stay here. Are they going to be mad at me? Are they, playing that kind of program and being able to say, you know what, I trust in the highest good that me staying here and not going to that is going to work for all of us. It's going to be the best for all of us.
That's right. And here, let's take it a step further. Let's say in that scenario that you just described, had you done it 3 steps earlier, you would not have committed to being there at 4 to start with. because you would have already felt not my highest good. So the earlier we check in, we sometimes what we do is we just go, oh yeah, let's go for it. Sure, yeah, no problem. Great,
Just
I'll
say
do
yes,
it. We
yes
say
from
and then,
here.
right?
Yeah, from
and then we
thinking.
go, wait a minute, does that really work for me?
Yeah.
So if we don't commit right away, if you give yourself space to feel into something or to have a conversation with someone, it kind of works for everything, right? Just have an inner dialogue, a check-in, decide what's in the highest good before I pursue this avenue on any level. Because then if I don't do that, I'm in the position you just described, which now I've committed to it. Now I have to actually have that inner dialogue because I myself like to do what I say.
Yeah, integrity.
I have integrity with my word. My word is my bond. I roll by that. So I would have to be something like, I really can't do it if I'm going to, flail on something, right? So then I'm putting myself in that position,
right,
which I don't want to be in for me. So if I do it earlier, then I haven't put myself in even the position to have to feel that way to then make that choice because I've been proactive and discerning.
Yeah, and you've been answering very mindfully, and your body. You're checking in with your body and your mind and saying, "Do I want to do that next week at 4:00?" It sounds like a good idea, but I'm not ready to make that commitment right now, and I don't even know why. But I'll get back to you or whatever. Right.
Listen, you brought up a great point, listening to your body, because when you feel it, anything, if you can just take a moment to feel into your body and go, is that a yes? If it's not a yes, yeah, totally. Woo, yeah. If it's not that, then it's a no, at least right now. Like, if it's not a solid, then I should think about it. I'm going to think about it. Let me meditate on that. Let me ponder it. However you speak, let me take a few and let me sleep on it. However you, process and go in and see, is this really what I want to be doing? Is this going to overall, what's the big picture? To take a step back. We also tend to do that, which is hone really into small things, and we get kind of stuck on a laser focus. And we don't, if we take a step back and we see the whole picture,
see the bigger picture,
then we can go, oh, well, that piece just fits right inside of here. Oh, okay, that wasn't as big of a deal as I thought it was, now that I look at the whole thing. Right.
Okay, well, it's 3:22 on May 11th, 2022, and where do we want to go next?
Powerful day of double digits.
Yeah, 0322220225001.
Make some intentions. It's such a powerful day.
Yeah, it's all good.
And washing clean, like we brought in the waters just at the beginning of this. Right now, it's been raining here in Kohala, right? And it's been fabulous. Everything is so happy and alive. And I'm so grateful for the sun today. And you just feel, last night the stars were amazing. So beautiful. And so you just feel this purging and cleansing. So I always say the ua, right? Many of us out, you say the ua is a blessing. It's always a prayer. It's always a gift of cleansing and renewal and a blessing. So, even as we relate with our daily, how we see the weather, how we see all these things, sometimes we can go, it's raining again. Instead of going there and yourself, just go into gratitude, like, yay, it's raining. We're all being cleansed, and the plants are being fed, and everyone is being nurtured.
Remember when it was steaming hot for weeks on end and we didn't have any rain. So, be grateful for what we have today.
Right. And just being present and really grateful for each part of it because, all of it's really phenomenal.
There were, I did some engineering. Holly did her show today, Tutu's Talk Story, and she had two women from California. And they were talking about gratitude. And one of them was saying, and they're both pretty dynamic, do a lot on all levels in their lives. And the one woman who's over 80, she was saying something about when she wakes up in the morning, she wants to experience joy, and how can she bring joy into the world, and also that being grateful, like first thing in the morning, as a way to get going. So just, I know we talk about this a lot, but we all wake up sometimes on the wrong side of the bed or the foot of the bed or whatever, that we're just not quite the perky person we want to be. And going to gratitude really helps that, looking for something to be grateful for in that moment.
Well, yeah, and this is so big because it's really shifts everything constantly. We do talk about it a lot, but it's so big, and
Yeah.
you can't be too grateful, and like you really can't. And you're like describing 80-year-old, amazing auntie who's really activating their tools and literally is feeling good in her 80s because
Yeah.
of that. She's joyful and grateful and experiencing life.
And
like,
and
yay.
engaged in life,
Yeah.
like excitedly engaged in life.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's amazing and great. And that's what actually we all need to be feeling. We have this whole paradigm of thought where, oh, I'm old now. I don't know. People
Gosh.
say
I
that
don't
in their
know.
40s, which is crazy because
I knew
I'm in
someone
my 40s.
at 30 was saying he was old.
Yeah, that's a
It's
whole
it's just a mind
trained
thing.
program of thought. I don't know. They
Yeah.
always say, "What? You're only as old as you think you are," and that's really, body wise, we are really infinite beings. So we take stock of breathing that cellular life force through the body, and you can think of it in terms of physics or science. We're water, right? So we would do this with the children in our Rhythm of the Soil program that we did for many years in the schools. Which is gardening and West African drum, and then talking about how we affect each other and what we put in our bodies and how this relationship is. And Dr. Emoto, I'd use that example of Dr. Emoto and how the water, he did a whole experiment, right, where he put
Right.
love on a jar of water and hate on a jar of water. And then he examined the molecular structure of the water like a week later.
Right. They froze them and took photos of the frozen particles of water.
Right.
Yeah.
And the hate ones was like blobs
Distorted.
of distorted.
Yes.
Bleh, right. And the love was like those
Beautiful, crisp, and
crystalline,
Yeah,
snowflake
crystalline.
kind of
Yeah.
structures.
Mm-hmm.
And so you really see, so now you imagine, so what I would do with the kids, right? Like you have a kid stand up, come, all right, come say hi to me. And they like, hi, Auntie. And I go, whatever. Like I turn my back and, like whatever.
Yeah.
And they turn, how do you feel? Horrible. Like
Yeah.
I feel really bad. Like, right. Immediately. Right. You felt that immediately, didn't you? Okay. Now do it again. And then I go, oh, it's so good to see you. Come here. Give me a hug. Oh, wow. I missed you. How are you? How do you feel now? Great.
Yeah.
Happy.
Yeah.
See, that's how powerful you are. That we each have the power to affect that much change immediately on another person with our energy and our
attitude.
Our attitude.
Yeah.
And if we're in a crystalline structure of happiness and joy, the molecules in our water are more crystalline, and we influence that crystalline structure in when we come together, right? So we are powerful creators. And that's so important to remember, is the effect we have on one another, because it helps us be more mindful to realize that, and the power of our words. Oh, no worries.
Whoops. That was a little Alanis.
And, the power of our words. So,
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
The power of the words are very, very important. And again, I was watching somebody the other day, and she's someone who usually brings pretty upbeat messages. And she started talking about, she said, I've been looking at my trauma and my, when I was abused, and my trauma. And I said, no, honey, don't say that. Don't take such ownership of it. It was a trauma that happened to you. But do we want to name it mine? Doesn't that really, and speak to this, because I'm not attached. I'm looking at languaging in a way that serves. And when I heard her say that, I kind of cringed for her, because attaching to that trauma, to me, keeps it in your energy field. And we can acknowledge it and work through it and let it go. Doesn't mean we don't ever remember it again, but it's not necessarily like right here, right close to me.
Well, it depends. So my experience of that, in like working with myself and others, is that you have, our trauma, so my wounding per se, quote unquote, is the inner self, my inner child. So the pieces of us that are wounded are little pieces of ourselves from those experiences that are still kind of looping in the experience. It's like it's a story that keeps playing over for the 7-year-old me, or something of that nature. So in that way, that is my wound. but I don't have to, but it's language can be tricky because I do have to go in and connect with my child and go, what is this? And be curious. And I have to look at it and be willing to take the time to process it. Because often there's another way of dismissing and not getting to things, which I have found there are many layers when it comes to the energetic fields and work, and many things hide deep within. They're not on the surface.
Right, so you don't want to be ignoring it. It's not about ignoring it or dismissing it.
Right, yeah, but I see what you're saying is not identifying that it's, that the pain is mine. No, they're programs that were set in due to a wounding. So the wounding happened to us. That set in this I'm not worthy program. So the I'm not worthy really never belonged to you. It was a program that got set in because of our perception of an event. We think something about it, and then we make a choice. Oh, I guess it means I suck, or I'm not good enough, and I drop my power on the floor. Well, when we go back and realize most often, in almost every single one of those cases, whoever we've given up our power to never had more than we did and has lost themselves. So what made us ever like, hey, why did I even do that? And we're showing our inner child that so that we can come into balance and pick up our own energy by acknowledging what has been, calling out the pink elephant in the room, and then letting it go. Now it's no longer my pain, because we also have to remove the energy of pretty much, and that comes back to, we brought up the Ho'oponopono prayer last time. That's a powerful prayer of forgiveness to the spirit self, to the 7-year-old you, to the 8-year-old you, to move out of this reality. You're done. Give thanks. Let's close it. You're free. Remember, we learned from this, and this no longer has emotion. That's kind of what we're doing. And now you can go, now when it goes up, here's where you're saying, don't identify when the program I'm not worthy comes up, because even though you've gotten back your energy, especially if it's been running your whole life, it's a deep rutted groove in the brain. And so it's going to take... We
talked about that last time, the ruts.
It's going to take some effort in reprogramming that, right? So the more you're willing to acknowledge what has been and then put in the good stuff, the quicker that process goes.
Well, and I've done some public speaking years ago, telling my story, and it was all about coming out as a lesbian. That was the context of what it was. And I realized after a few years of going and doing this publicly, there were times I would share the story and I was not attached to the story. It was like, oh, that's an interesting story. I think I'll tell that one today. I think these students could connect with that and we could have conversation. But sometimes I did kind of fall into the story, and I found at some point it wasn't serving me anymore to be telling the story, because it was like reliving it and keeping it and making it worse than it was, just because it sounded good to say it that way in a group of people. Like I could take the same incidences that happen in my life and turn them into a drama or turn it into a comedy. It depended how I approached
frame it
and my attitude.
Yeah, well, life is a comedy or a drama, depending on how you frame it.
Right. But I'm like, I don't really want to relive things that keep taking me down. If there's value to letting something out and then letting it go, that's one thing. But this kind of replaying something that was difficult, it's not really
well,
where
unless
I wanna go.
Unless see now if that feels like that, then there might still be energy there. Because what it should feel like, or not should, but what it can feel like is that we've let go of the energy on it, and now back to the lessons, the parables, the story becomes a means of learning.
Yes.
And it's just, I'm just telling
a story.
It's just a story that I'm telling because it's got this cool little lesson. And I learned some cool things. And, it happened and I got nothing on it. Because been there, done that. But, but check out the story.
Yeah.
Like, it's more like that. So if we feel like that about it, it's a different energy than if I'm reliving the loop, which is different. And this is why talk therapy and things like that don't work sometimes, because that's what you're doing, reliving the loop. Instead of going to the core with the inner child, finding where the loop's running and then dismantling the loop. Now that you've done that, now your brain will want to go to the I'm not worthy. And this is where you don't attach to that. You go, nope, that's the program that was running with that. So, hey, that's just a program. That's not me. That's just a program.
Right.
I'm not worthy. And you know what? I'm worthy. I'm going to put that in instead. I'm worthy, and I'm going to make a new choice. I'm not going to say what I would have normally wanted to say right now, and I'm going to just be quiet. And I'm going to give thanks and praise. It's a choice I'm making in the moment based on restructuring the program by not identifying with it, because I realize it's not me. Any thought that is telling you anything negative, period, is not you. It's a program, because all of us are connected to source love, and we actually, our natural inclination, our natural state of being is goodness, to feel good, to feel enlivened.
Well, let's take a breath on that, because we're going to have a station break and then come right back with some more good stuff.
Yes.
Are you looking for more locally grown farm fresh produce in your life? This April, Kohala Food Hub is excited to begin offering weekly boxes of fresh, locally grown produce. CSA boxes will be available every Wednesday for doorstep delivery or pickup in our Hawi location on Ho'ea Road. CSA stands for Community Supported Agriculture. By becoming a member of Kohala Food Hub's CSA, you not only bring healthy food to your table, you are also supporting local farmers, who are the backbone of our community. To learn more, please email director@kohalafoodhub.com. That's director@kohalafoodhub.com. You can also visit kohalafoodhub.com to see our Farm Fresh online marketplace, open Fridays through Mondays every week. We hope to serve you soon.
Women's Voices on KNKR LP 96.1 FM Kohala with your host Eila Allgood every Monday and Wednesday from 4 to 6 p.m. Please tune in and hear some sensational songs and spoken words by female artists right here in Kohala and around the world. I've been doing this show for 7.5 years and it's still fun. You can also stream it on www.knkr.org or tune in to 96.1 FM. Welcome back. You are listening to Intuitive Talk Story. It is 3:37 on May 11th, 2022 with Eila Allgood and Michál Anna. And you were going to share something, Michál?
Oh, well, I'm happy to share that while Eila is away, although we will very much miss her, she will be on a magical journey. We will hopefully be having a surprise guest here on the show in 2 weeks, probably like 2 weeks' time, week and a half. During the week of May 19 to 25, my dear friend and colleague, Jason Antelek, who does Akashic work, will be here on island. Some of you have met him if you're in this community. And he will be here to engage in all of the beautiful things. So we are going to have a in-person event, a fabulous spiritual talk story panel with myself and Jason and possibly one other person, discussing deeper aspects and questions around the Akashic realms, around dimensional work, around things like inversions, agreements, vows, deeper tools. Those of you who are engaging in this deeper work, if you have questions, thoughts, you'd like to engage in a more detailed dialogue around some of these things, and you live here in Hawaii, we're on the North End in Hawi, so you can email me if you would like to attend. That will be May 22nd, 12 to 2 p.m., a Sunday, and you can email me at Michál Anna, MICHALANNA, love, LOVE, @gmail.com. So if you're interested in that, let me know.
Perfect.
And hopefully we'll be on the air as well during that
That
week.
sounds exciting. Yes, I'll stay in tune because maybe I can listen from when I'm in New York.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and May 22nd is my grandson's birthday. So I'll be doing baby playthings while you're doing spiritual talk.
Well, it's actually May 11th today, so it's 11 days from now.
Oh, look at that. We're
11/11.
I love it. I love it. All right, so we're talking about all kinds of things. One of the things I wrote down before when we were talking about language is how we use language to describe and explain lots of things, but art and music as a way to express and describe and explain.
You're talking my speak, sister.
Yeah.
So for me personally, in my journey, honestly, I've learned the most through art and music, through expression of dance and music, which is why I teach kids, which is why I dance, which is why I engage in music, because it's the way to stay. It's presence.
Yeah.
So surfing is. I mean, I surf too, but I'm not a surf server. But I love surfing. But I can spend enough
Being
time
on the ocean.
to be a real surfer.
Yeah.
But this real surfing is the same thing. Presence, time. You can't. You got to totally be there. You know, others are gonna pearl and like.
You're not thinking about your stock portfolio
No.
when you're out on
No,
on the
you
wave.
have to fully be present when you're playing music, when you're dancing,
Yes.
when you're engaging in a physical activity. Oftentimes it brings us into presence. It also unlocks our body. So for me, dance, you know, as a body worker, I've approached my dance that way my whole career as a teacher, of just how is it unlocking different aspects of the body, the energy, the muscles. What am I feeling? What does that hold? Teaching students over the last 22 years dance, let alone body work, I can see where everyone's holding things in their body just in dance class.
Yeah.
And where like, okay, breathe here. This will help you open this. And then you may experience, which people do, because especially women, we're all like, we've had a lot of programming around being somebody and being
in your
sexy
body or not in
I
your
don't know,
body.
whatever.
Yeah. Yep.
And so a lot of things come up for women around insecurity and feeling confident and feeling good. And I am really am about empowering people. I want you to feel empowered. I want you to learn. This is a safe space, you know, for you to grow and to experience yourself, because it is going to be a little uncomfortable, because it is going to feel funny and you will be uncomfortable. Push through that and breathe through it, embrace and know, yeah, okay, I'm expanding through this. And that's what movement enables us to do. I've expanded myself through the movements. I've pushed myself so hard through the movements. And that kind of goes back to falling down and picking yourself back up.
Yep.
I think I've mentioned this before, but I'm really grateful to my mom. Thank you. And it was just Mother's Day. So grateful to my mama. She put me in ice skating. She allowed me to be in ice skating. It wasn't cheap back in those days. Still not cheap, but she worked hard and she was making costumes and the whole 9 yards. At any rate, I skated and I fell down every day, because if you're going to get any jump, you're going to fall.
Yeah.
Again and again and again and again until you get that jump. So falling became an integral part of getting something in my small brain, in my little mind.
Yeah.
You know, I associated success with having to fall. I'm like, you just get better at falling. Like now I fell and I didn't put the blade in my leg. And this time I slid. Did you see I slid? I got up pretty quick. You see that? You hardly even noticed I fell, right? Right? Now you didn't even see it. Boom, I'm up, right? See that? So you get better at that, and that becomes like the until you're landing it.
Well, and the fall isn't wrong. It's part of the
it's
growth.
part of the growth. If you're not falling, you're not trying.
Yes.
In skating, you won't get the jump if you don't try it.
Well, that's true with a lot of sports,
Right.
and a lot of life. I used to.
It's a metaphor. Back to that.
I learned to ski when I was downhill ski when I was 25, I guess. And I was always afraid of falling. I never got off the green slopes because I was afraid to fall.
There you
I
go.
didn't want to
Perfect
fall.
example.
And, you know, that's just what it was. And I don't look back and say, oh, I shouldn't have been afraid to fall. No, I did what I wanted to do.
No judgment.
But I also noticed that I wasn't going to be able to get to the next level because that was my limitation. So I
Right.
just enjoyed, I wanted to have like a lovely ride down the hill. I didn't want the exhilaration.
And there you actually just describe, it's all about, it's okay to do, whatever you want. Just know what you're doing, which is what you just
conscious
described.
choice.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
no, like for me, you know, I don't feel like I need to go try to rip it on that huge wave.
Right.
You know, it's not something I need to do.
It's not,
And it's
yeah,
okay. It's
yeah.
it's not like, oh, you're limited by that. You don't push yourself. No, it's really just not something I need to do. And
It's not your calling. Yeah.
I'm okay with that limit.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
to know what we're doing, to know when we're doing it, what we're doing. And that's when we
And
bring
why.
we
Yeah.
bring our awareness to it, then basically we're in the driver's seat. Because ultimately, I have authority over this vessel and nothing has power over me. Say it often, say it loud.
Yeah, and the movement is big. I played tennis the other day, and I had stopped tennis for a lot of years because my body was too big. And I played the other day, and I really pushed myself because I play with 3 very good men who are all really probably better skilled than I am. But I have a lot of drive, and I want to play the best I can.
Yeah, you want to do your best.
And I find that when I'm there, like you say, I'm in the moment, I'm present. The only thing that distracts me is sometimes I throw the ball up and I'm just admiring the clouds that are going by. And I'm like, no, stay focused, stay with the ball. But I get a certain surge of energy that comes through me when I'm doing that.
It's because you're honing in that focus.
Yeah.
You're dropping in a pocket. That's why musicians say we get in the pocket. We get in this field. We're all locked in. We're all playing together. We're listening. You can feel it. We're all in it together. And you can feel when someone drops off. Oh, now we're not in the pocket.
And with music, you have that kind of, it is a vibration, right? Because it is music. There's a synchronicity that happens. And there is not... because you're tuning in on so many levels, thinking about what you're going to have for dinner is just not one of those. You're not distracted. Even if you come in having a really horrible day or something really painful happened before you got there, and I'm sure you see this with your dance classes, is that when people are there, that falls away for that 30 minutes or hour or whatever it is, and they're right there with their body, with the music, with the drumming, with the vibrations, with the other beings that they're with too, that community.
That's right.
Is very
we
meaningful.
Actually set that in. I set that intention. Okay, wherever you've been today, let that go. Bring yourself fully here.
Yeah.
Let's breathe into being here. We take a minute to do that because leave it at the door so you can experience yourself here and now. That'll be there for you later. You can deal with whatever it is, and you might deal with it from a different brain. Because you will have changed after this 2
You're not the
hours
same person after that.
you came in as. So now you can go, do I even want to pick that back up? I don't. I'm going to just do it different. Give thanks.
Right.
So it's about letting go. And I have said so many times in my own life, I'm so grateful for dance. It saved my life. Like having rehearsal tonight saved me to sweat, to work hard, to push myself.
It kind of like saves you from yourself, right?
It did. It saved
from
me
thinking.
from myself. I just need to get the energy out of my body. I just need to move. I'm going to just work it out by working hard and just get through it. Sometimes those hard moments were like, you're working through it in whatever way you feel is great for you, whatever works for you.
Right.
But that focus really helps because it's like you're penetrating focus, you're fine-tuning, and you inevitably, in order to focus that at that capacity, you have to work through whatever's in your way to get to that focus, which means if it's, oh no, I'm not good enough, or oh, the insecurity, or oh, look, she's doing it better, all that stuff. No, forget all that. It's not about any of that. Push through that and get to your place of focus and just drop into the activity and feel it. Now you're in the pocket because you're not worried about what everybody else is doing. You're just feeling your body. Okay, what does that feel like? Ooh, now I'm opening that. Ooh, if I breathe, and I let the breath out. Oh, that's cool. Now you're just enjoying the process and you're just being there, and you're not concerned with other energies or people. And that's really that's what's so cool about doing like music and dance, is that you're all there fully present in yourself, but you're together. But I'm not requiring something of you for me, necessarily. Like, we're not in a conversation. We have to keep going to connecting. I got to keep, but in this, I just get to witness you in yourself, and you get to witness me in myself, but we're having a connection at the same time.
It's an energetic connection. It's not a talking connection.
Right, but there's growth, and there's lots of things happening, and it's dynamic. And it takes away sometimes like all that. We could get stuck in the stories and the da-da-da-da, and like forget all that.
What happened an hour, the argument from 2 hours
Whatever,
ago.
let's just dance it out. Let's all just get into this energy, bring you into the field of unity. in another way, right? And just drop all that. So it's another like way to just shake the energy and come into understanding with one another.
And it changes your perspective.
Yeah.
Whatever you came in with. When I've taught psychic development classes, I do the same thing and say, okay, whatever happened today, because we do meditation, we're going to do a meditation.
Exactly.
Leave it at the door, and it's because when we bring in that drama, whatever happened earlier in the day, it's not going to allow us to go to where we want to go. It's not going to allow us for our vibrations to increase. It's going to hold us. The more we play that tape in our head,
It's diverting
he
your
said
attention.
this, and then she said that, and then this happened, and it's not allowing you to be present with what you're there to experience.
You just think of it as you're playing a movie while you're at another movie.
Right.
Like that's not cool. Like,
that's
movie,
great.
like, turn
That's
the
so
movie off.
confusing.
Yeah, it's confusing. Turn that movie off, watch this one, and then when you go back to that movie, you might go, oh, the movie looks a little different.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. That's funny.
Double
Yeah.
dipping in movie time.
Yeah, and one of the things we started with today, which comes up as we're talking about this, is to be compassionate with yourself.
This is so huge. We are so not compassionate with ourselves. That's how we stay in the ruts, because we're like, stupid me. Oh, I did so bad. Oh, blah, blah. We hear
Or how
ourselves
could
on
I
the
be in a
head.
grumpy mood today when everything in my life is so wonderful?
I'm
so
supposed
stupid.
to do this. We do so much of that. So all the self voices, those are back to that. Separate yourself from them. They're not you. So name them. You're like, Charlie, I don't want to hear it today.
Yeah.
Gertrude, you get nothing for me.
Yeah.
Like if you start making it fun, it's your own movie.
Yeah.
It's your personal game. Make it fun so that you are literally dismantling. It's kind of like an adventure of you're in a video game of dismantling things. Dun, 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 dun. Dismantle it, find your treasures, and level up, right? You're just on this journey. And the more fun we make it, really the easier it is. Because the thing is, we get so attached to the stories. We get so attached to our characters. If we realize it's movies, it's a play, it's roles, then we kind of take a step back and we go, okay, cool. Well, this is cool. I mean, I'm enjoying it. It's not like I'm enjoying the role. I love it.
Yeah.
But I also know it's a role, and I know where I'm at,
Yeah.
and I know what we're doing, and cool. Let's just enjoy this.
Bring in some humor. Do you want to be in a drama, a thriller, a horror movie, or comedy, or what? It's up to us. It's up to us to decide what we want. And being compassionate with ourselves is extremely important, and forgiving ourselves and forgiving other people.
Yes.
It's very liberating to forgive.
And this is huge because in our deeper level wounding, for some, the wounds are so great that it's really forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do, right? Some people have been through such horrific things on a soul level that that deep forgiveness for the self and the allowance of the soul to allow itself to be forgiven through Ho'oponopono, right? And to be brought into its own redemption, because it's like we hold a memory and we get stuck in the own loop of I'm not good enough in another field. And so you're actually releasing that energy, like we spoke about earlier, releasing that energy from that time, making peace with it. And it's like redemption, right? We're redeeming at that time so that we come into grace and into God's light, that we take our rightful place with God, that we have not been abandoned or discarded, but that we are loved and valued. So that loving and valuing of ourselves is really ultimately we're all just wanting to be loved and valued by God, by all that is. And that's really the relationship with ourself, right? Is the ultimate connection to spirit, and knowing I am loved, I am safe, I am valued, I am taken care of. And that's what we're doing, is bringing in absolute safety into the vessel so you can release the wounding by creating safe spaces to do energetic work, to bring in the fields of Christ's love or whatever you're working with, to activate your own healing, to release, let go, sever, cauterize, remove, and move forward into a new vibrational reality, because we do have the ability to leave things, to level up, to go forward. and to embody our
And we're
true
certainly at a
beautiful
time where
selves.
there is a lot of leveling up and a lot of,
Such huge time.
yeah.
It's so
yeah,
magical and
energy is
so
moving
amazing.
quickly.
This has never happened. It's the most amazing thing what's happening on planet Earth right now. It's amazing, this ascension time. However you perceive that, it's all about free will and choices, either expanding or contracting is the simple way to put it. And it's a choice. So it's beautiful to see the many, many beautiful beings that have been awakening and busting through beliefs and programs and choosing life. And that's really the choice we get to make right now. And I just can't stress enough that that daily, remember, we just stay connected to the God of your heart, however you say that, and the earth, to release energies down into the earth so that that's your pathway of release, and be connected to nothing else. No cords, no connectors to anybody, anything, anywhere. For the only thing we want to be tuned into is source channel or your divine source, like your own guidance, wisdom to the God of your heart and however you perceive that. And that is what guides us through the heart and allows us to motivate and move and navigate through our day as we listen to that higher voice, check in, be discerning so that we can then persevere to make it through the hard moments and challenges, to move into expansion and true release, to grab our power and our pearls, integrate more wholeness, and radiate the true love, light, Christic light beings that we are.
And as it may be, for some people, may be so easy to love somebody else, remember, it's very important to love yourself, just like you love somebody else.
Well, the
Pour
truth
that
is
love
we
into
only
yourself.
love someone else as much as we actually love ourselves. We can't really love them more than we love ourselves because our capacity for love, it might be more like a program.
It may be more like something that we put on somebody when we say, "Oh, I love you, I love you, I love you." But
what can happen, like, for instance, you break up with somebody, you think, but he was the best, it was him. Actually, it wasn't him. You were experiencing your capacity for love. You were experiencing how much you could love. And you were placing that on him, like it was him that was providing it. But it was just him
Right.
showing you your own ability to love.
Right.
That's your ability to love. And because you can't actually create that for another person. The whole idea back to like the Jedi and partnership is that in order to really be in a sacred union, that means that you have two whole beings. So that means my love is completely mine in myself. It's the capacity of love, light that I just radiate me. And you're a whole infinite being radiating love. Now we come together to activate that love together and experience more than the sum of its parts. Right. But if I'm trying to get that love from you, now that's a different thing. That's not an infinity situation. Now we're
no,
creating.
that's kind of a neediness situation.
Right. Now I'm
and
trying to
that comes from lack.
I'm a half a circle.
Yes.
I'm trying to get met.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
and that's an old program, two
Right.
halves make a whole.
Right.
Like
They tell you that.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
just bull.
I mean, even there's like
Two
symbology.
circles make infinity.
There's symbology with like jewelry where you have a half of a heart and a half of a
Right.
heart, and it's only when we're together that we have a whole heart. And is that true? No, that's
No.
not. That's where we each have our full heart, our full love, and then we come together, and something else that's it. It's like another entity happens.
That's right. But where that can apply, let's just say, is actually within back to ourselves. It's the marriage, the sacred marriage within of the masculine and feminine. In that way, in ourselves, we are not whole until we marry the masculine and feminine within us, come into wholeness. The thing is, we took that wrong and perceived it as being someone outside of us.
Yeah.
But it's really about our inner marriage of coming together into balance. And now once we have that inner marriage, now we can go forward and experience true love with another being who's also in inner marriage with themselves.
Well, that's a lovely place to end today. So it's time for us to close, and I'll be gone for a few weeks, and we'll be back together the second week in June.
Yes.
And Michál will be doing the show with Jason sometime in mid-May.
Yes.
And just, tune in. It'll be here.
And if you're interested in attending a live in-person event with Jason and myself and another light worker, that will be May 22nd from 12 to 2 p.m. Please reach out. Email me at michaalannalove@gmail.com.
So until next time, everyone, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being here today, Michál.
Thank you, Miss Eila. Always a pleasure.
See you next time. Aloha, everybody.
Aloha.
Stay tuned for Women's Voices.